What happened?
So it's funny, Steve. I started my business in 2017, and initially we were just going to be a painting company, right? That was our focus, and then we got caught up into this, um, the pool of like, oh, a customer might say like, "Hey, could you do this?" And we're like, yeah, we can do that. And so we had this one job where this customer asked us if we could do tile floor through their whole first floor of their home. And we're like, yeah, of course we could do that. So um, at the time, we were actually running a subcontractor model. So funny. I mean, this is not really funny. It's awful, but it was a learning experience. My business partner subbed the job out to a guy who
Hmm.
subbed the job out to a guy,
Oh no.
and the guy that he subbed the job, like our subcontractor who subbed the job out, that guy hired a bunch of people off Craigslist to do the tile floors.
Yeah.
Well, he demanded from our subcontractor to get paid up front. So our subcontractor paid that guy up front, and he disappeared,
Oh,
left the people who were hired from Craigslist on the job. They were showing up. They're like, where's that guy at? How are you going to get paid? And we're like, what? We're like, it just turned into a whole thing. I was there until like 3, 4 in the morning, tiling myself, trying to get this job done. Customer was like super upset with the whole situation. I ended up losing a lot of money. And one of the biggest things that I learned from that experience was just stick to one thing. Like stick to what you know, stick to what you're good at. It can be enticing to like get pulled off into those other things, but it was a learning experience for sure.
ouch. Oh my goodness. So a subcontractor subbed it to a subcontractor who hired
Yeah,
people off of Craigslist, demanded being paid up front, bailed. Oh, man.
yeah, it was a mess.
Ouch. Yeah. So I can see where we're kind of like, it still hurts. It's still not funny yet. I need more time.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
funny, right?
It's like even that town,
Mhm.
like I associate that town with that job, and
It
I
was so
like don't want
painful.
to do any work there.
Yeah, yeah, I get it. I get it. Oh man, been there.
So
The scars, right? Oh
yeah,
god.
yeah, it was tough, tough lesson to learn.
Yeah. Oh man. Well, to our listeners and our viewers, hello and welcome back to the DYB podcast. Today's guest is from Titusville, Orlando area, Florida, owner of Seal Painting, Branden Sewell. Welcome to the show, my friend.
Thank you so much.
Take us back to the beginning. How did you get started?
So back when I was 14, I actually met this guy who owned a painting company, and he lived up in Baltimore. I actually worked at a church with him. Okay, and he was my supervisor. He ended up leaving from there about a year before I did. And then this was fast forward, this was around the time I was 18, 19 years old. He left before I did. A year later, I left. I ended up reconnecting with him. And I actually came to work for him and his painting company up in Baltimore. And started out just doing like admin, sale, or eventually transitioned into sales and things like that. So sold for him. When he recruited me, I had been working for a really big multi-million-dollar company up in Maryland that did roofing, siding, windows, doors, and all of that. And that company was planning to have me go become a marketing director for their new office in New Jersey. And Mike tried to recruit me, and I was like, yes, but if you recruit me in 5 years, I want to be able to either start my own location, or have you help me go out and start my own business. So we agreed to that, and actually just about 10 or 11 months in to working with him, my wife and I actually decided that we were going to be moving from Maryland to Florida, to actually help with starting a church. And I told Mike I was going to be leaving. And he's like, well, we'll just fast forward the process. We'll help you start the business down there. And so that's really how I got started. We initially started in like a partnership with him, and then transitioned out of that. And now I just own my company, 100%.
So what year was this that you came down to Florida? I say came down to Florida.
2017.
I
Yeah.
feel like I'm still there. Went down to Florida.
August of 2017 is when we got started.
Okay. So you got started and you got started and you built a business, and it's very different from what you have going now. So walk us through that, please.
Yeah. So the way that I started out in the contracting space was how I was taught, which was basically sub everything out. It was like a cash flow sales machine on my end. And then, you just subcontract all the work out. And so we came down here, we, hit the ground running. We did about just shy of 500,000 in revenue our first year in business. But what I really wrestled with that business model was just not really having the control of the results that I wanted, like the culture in the company, the customer service, who was showing up, and all of those things. So just made the decision to transition and, switch to a different type of model for my business.
So what does it look like today?
So today, we run an employee model. So right now I've got 5 painters that are out in the field. That's 2 crews, 1 of 3 and 1 of 2 guys. And, I'm not sure if you plan to hit on this, but we're kind of rebuilding from last year. So last year I had 11 employees. We were on pace to hit $1 million plus in revenue, and just hit a hiccup in the road. That's when I found DYB, and now we're rebuilding, but it's so much healthier than it was before. And there's so much that I've learned in DYB to even just get us to where we are now. And yeah, it's a night and day difference.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Can you share for those, just to give context? Now, those are in DYB know what you're talking about, but many of our listeners are not or haven't joined yet. So, what's the difference between what it used to be like and some of the changes you've made today?
Yeah. So previously, I took some of the things that I learned from marketing in the other model, which was using lead services. Now, when you're doing like the subcontracting model, that works, I guess, because you're just selling, sell, and you're not as concerned about the production. You just deal with the problems as they come. But anyway, so when we switched over to the employee model, we were still purchasing leads, wasting thousands of dollars. I mean, anywhere between $4,000 to $6,000 a month, just for buying leads. And so last year, I have all of these guys, all of this staff. That's our main source of business was at the time Thumbtack, and we were spending a ton of money in that. And then around the May timeframe, things just like completely slowed down. But since I didn't have a lot of focus on the relationship driven and network driven marketing and building relationships and all that, like the ABA style of things. When things slowed down and leads started getting really bad, everything just kind of like crashed. And so the biggest change that I made was, I remember my first phone call with you. The very first advice you gave me is, you said, stop paying for those junk leads. And I was terrified because I was like, that's like been our main source of business. But I knew that I had to listen to what you were telling me if I was going to be successful. So I turned it off and I started following the ABAs and just turned things around super quick. I remember I even told you, I said, Steve, do you think I can turn this around in 4 to 6 months? Because if I can't, I'm done. And you're like, I think you can do it. If you lean in, you follow the system, you can do this. You got this. And so I was like, okay, Steve, let's do this. And, I did. I really leaned into the ABAs, and, whatever I wasn't doing, I just ticked those little things off and hustled. And, here I am today, 6, 7 months later, and it's just completely different.
Complete turnaround, right?
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah, well done and way to implement. I've done a fantastic job along this. What do you think's been one of the main paradigm shifts for you to help you to switch, make this turnaround? Because this is big. What you've done is fantastic.
Um, it may sound really simple, but I think it was just getting over the mindset that buying leads and everything was the only way to have enough
Mm-hmm.
business, to like keep my guys busy and keep getting business. I mean, I had to really fight to overcome that mentality of like, oh, that's the only way that I can stay busy. And I remember even early on, because like the beginning, it was it was slow, and then I had to really build that momentum again. But there were, a couple weeks where it was tempting. It was like, no leads are coming in. I'm like, if I just threw, $1,000 in Thumbtack, I'd get some leads. But then I remembered, just thinking to myself, and through your training, is like, by taking on those not, three P's clients, I was potentially losing out on the ones that were. And so by getting like letting my anxiety and my mindset get the best of me, I could have potentially been missing out on that next best job. When they called and it's that three P's client, it's like, well, sorry, I'm busy with this CD client, and um, so anyway, it's just that was probably one of the biggest things I had to overcome in my mindset.
The implementation of what has made the biggest change along the way?
Really following the ABAs, going to BNI. I remember that was one of the first things you told me to do. So I
Mm-hmm.
joined BNI, started going to that every week, um, changing up. I had been doing like thank you cards and send out cards before, but they were
Mm-hmm.
very like sales driven or constantly offering a discount, not building relationship. And so just the approach was different. And so when I started to lean into your system, when I would send those cards, I would send them to build relationship and stay top of mind instead of trying to sell something or give a discount. Um, when we've done newsletters all the time, but those newsletters were always, hey, here's this discount, please, get on our schedule before. And it was just totally, now our newsletters are just building relationship. It's
Mm-hmm.
telling people who we are and letting them into our lives. And that's been a huge change for us. And, really just focusing on building relationships and connections and switching to, um, relying on those really valuable relationships to get the
Mm-hmm.
referrals and business that we really want.
And you've done a great job of staying top of mind as well. And for the listeners who might not be aware, ABAs stand for ads that look like anything but advertising, which is step 6 in the system, DYB system. So fantastic. Culture. What part does culture play in the business that you're building this time around?
Yeah, culture has always been huge for me and really important. I think that's why the other business model didn't really work for me, because I felt like I couldn't build the culture that I wanted. Um, and so that's really big for me in having clear values as a business, a clear
Mm-hmm.
mission statement as a business, and passing that down to my guys is like, I think, very foundational to that. Making sure that they understand like who we are, what we stand for, what's most important to us, and why we do what we do. It's not just about putting paint on walls, but we want to have a positive impact on people's lives, and we do that through handling ourselves with excellence, how we treat one another, how we treat our clients, and our community. And that's really what drives me as far as our culture, and having guys bringing guys in that understand that. that are coming to work for more than just putting paint on walls.
Right on, right on. Books are important. What are some books that have made an impact on you?
For me and my journey as a business owner, my favorite book has been probably Extreme Ownership by Jocko Willink. Just helping me to understand that at the end of the day, it's on me. The results that I get, um, the direction that my business goes, I have to take ownership. And, I read that a few years ago, and the principles of that book actually read that book before I started my business, but it's really just helped me to offer great customer service. It's helped me in moments of failure to really be able to fix the problem because I'm not trying to blame shift or,
Mm-hmm.
trying to say like, oh, this is somebody else, but just, being able to take ownership. So that would be one. Um, Another book that has been pretty big game changer for me is actually the one that you just recommended not too long ago, Thou Shalt Prosper.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Really helping me shift my mindset on money. I came from a family that struggled financially growing up, living in hotels, and I've moved over 50 times in my life and been homeless and all of those things. And so money has always been like something that I've wrestled with and having like a scarcity mindset. And so this book has really been helping me to like change the way I look at that. So that's huge.
Right on. So, "Thou Shalt Prosper" by Rabbi Daniel Lapin. Big book, but
Yeah,
it's great and it's powerful.
it's
That was
it's awesome.
recommended to me by Bob Berg. That was the second book he recommended, and so it was a game changer for me too because we come up with those uh, incorrect beliefs about money, and
Right.
a lot of them were from uh, church and Hollywood, you know.
Right.
Um, if we're being transparent, and so it was eye opening for me too. What what part does marriage and health play into whole success for you?
For me, it's super important. I guess I'm just the kind of person that feels like, as a business owner, I'm a leader. And as a leader, I have an obligation to lead in all areas of my life. And so I feel like being in the position that I'm in, I need to be able to um, represent myself well. And part of that is like having a great marriage, investing in that. And having a marriage that my guys, people around me can look up to, and so that's huge for me. And of course, with like health and fitness, I feel like we've been given this life, we've been given breath today, and it's like I want to steward that well and
Hmm.
take care of my body. And I feel like it takes discipline and consistency to do that, which helps sharpen my leadership. Um, I've been on like a 2-year journey of getting back into shape and taking care of myself. And really, when I started to do that, things shifted for me and in my business. And I start every day in the gym, 5 o'clock, and I wake up early, between 4:30 a.m. And just that discipline and that consistency, it helps me to set the tone for my day. It's like, okay, I did that. It was hard. I've been disciplined and consistent with this. I can take on this business.
Right on. Where does your drive come from?
I think really my drive comes from my childhood.
Mm,
I grew up single mom, dad wasn't around, struggled financially, just had pretty tough time. And um, so I just knew when I was older, I wanted to provide a different life for my family. And, I've got a 3-year-old son now. And so I want to be able to be that example that I wish I had. growing up, and to show him, what it means to be a leader, to be a good husband, to serve your community, and all of those things. That's really what drives me.
Right on. Tech stack. What does your tech stack look like?
Oh man. So first off, we use Jobber for everything, like from our scheduling estimates. That's where we bring all of our leads in, client database, and then that's where we do our quotes, schedule jobs, invoicing, customers pay through there, job follow up. All of that's in there. So we use that kind of for like managing the jobs and the team for the production. Then we also use Basecamp. We use Basecamp for more of like internal management of jobs and the production. So every single job has its own project. So like any type of concerns or complaints or issues, whatever that is associated with that job goes there. And it's just a great place to keep all communication in one place. We also use Nice Job for getting reviews, which is connected with Jobber. So that's been huge for us in getting more reviews. We use send out cards for sending out automated thank you cards to customers when jobs are done. Yeah, I think that's pretty much it for our tech stack.
That's awesome. Now, Jobber has been such an influence on you that you've become a brand partner with them. Is that correct?
That is correct. Yeah.
Okay. So does that mean you might have a special free trial link that we could post in the notes for everybody?
Yeah, absolutely. It's also in my social media there for people if they want to try it out.
Okay. All right. Very cool. Well, before we roll out, Brandon, is there a question I should have asked or a final point you'd like to make?
Just a final point that I would like to make is that I wish I would have started coaching sooner as a business owner. So I just want to say thank you to you and what you do, and just encourage anyone who may be watching this who hasn't hired a coach to hire a coach. It's an investment. It's going to, like I said, I was able to turn my business around in 4 to 6 months from like a very bleak, existence. And so, just hire a coach. Don't wait. It's definitely worth it.
Awesome. Fantastic. Thank you very much, Brandon. If they would like to follow up and reach out to you, what's the best way somebody could contact you?
I would say the best way is my Instagram. I'm very active on there. So you can just look me up. It's Branden, Branden, Sewell, Sewell.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Brandon.
Thank you so much, Steve. Take care.